Jio platform attracts the sixth big investment in 6 weeks. Abu Dhabi's sovereign wealth fund invests over 9,000 crore rupees for 1.85% stake. Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk tweets that he thinks it's time to break up Amazon after writer and COVID-19 skeptic Alex Bernstein said that his upcoming book about COVID-19 does not meet Amazon's guidelines for sale. And I quote, "This is insane, Jeff Bezos." End quote, Musk said, tagging Amazon CEO, "Time to break up Amazon. Monopolies are wrong." Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey asks everyone to download the Signal app as protests in the wake of the death of George Floyd gains momentum in the United States. The messaging app, which keeps calls and messages on its platform end-to-end encrypted, has become popular amongst protesters as it prevents police interception. Welcome to Startup Street. I'm Megha Vishwanath. Now, WeWork India has raised $100 million from WeWork Global. WeWork India entered into a partnership with Embassy Group in 2017 and started operations in the Indian market. Embassy Group currently holds 100% rights over WeWork India. Embassy Group has said late last year that it was looking to raise $200 million to put into the co-working business. Remember, WeWork India had last month laid off nearly 100 employees, which accounted to 20% of its 500-strong workforce, as the co-working company was hit by the nearly 2-month-long pandemic and lockdown that saw all office spaces being shut. Now, a plea has been filed against WhatsApp Pay, and we are going to now jump on to an update on Amazon India. Amazon India is setting a complete, is all set to complete the hiring of 50,000 seasonal workers this week, and says that it is operating at a higher capacity compared to pre-COVID period, nearly at the Diwali peak levels. My colleague Mugdha caught up with Akhil Saxena, Vice President of Customer Fulfillment Operations APAC, MENA and LATAM at Amazon. Here's an excerpt of that conversation. Listen in.
Akhil, thank you so much for joining us on CNBC TV 18. Let's start with the big announcement that Amazon India made just a few weeks back in May, where you said that you're creating 50,000 seasonal jobs in the country. If you can just quickly give us an update on that, what is the status on that as of now? How many people have you been able to hire?
I think if I were to talk about the seasonal roles, you've seen that at this point of time, our focus has been to help our customers to get their shipments safely at their doorstep without having to step out of their homes. And I think a large part of the demand that we are seeing during the lockdown and after the lockdown 4.0 has been lifted, I think we are seeing a significantly high demand, and we know that we have to get more resources to come and fulfill that demand. So a large part of this hiring that we are talking about is almost over. And by the first week of June, I think by end of this week or early next week, we would have completed all of that.
So you're saying that you've hired nearly 50,000 people in the last few weeks?
We have, yes. And I think one of the things that we have done, and I think a lot of credit goes to our recruitment team, is their ability to work with multiple partners, staffing agencies, and agencies which provide us the recruitment capabilities to hire this lot across the country. So this is not in one place, Mugdha, just to be clear. All this hiring is across the whole country, and this is across our first mile, middle mile, last mile. So our fulfillment centers, sortation centers, our last mile delivery capability and capacity there. So we have hired this across the whole country. And the key thing for us is, while we are hiring it, we have ensured that we practice social distancing. So our hiring patterns have changed. The cohort and the number of people that we can onboard on a day has come down. But we are practicing social distancing and the right things, so that when we hire people, we are investing enough time on their training. We are seeing to it that they do not get a shorter period of training. So they have a new hire orientation program. And as part of that, on day one itself, they spend about 6 hours only on safety. And I think that's something which is very important for us, that as we do this large scale hiring, we do not compromise on the safety or the training that we impart to our associates. And then followed by that, they have the training given by our training ambassadors. Each person is assigned to a training ambassador, and that's where they learn on the job training.
Okay. So So I think, I mean, that's very good news, given that, unemployment is rising in India. So, I mean, the fact that you've been able to hire 50,000 people in the few weeks is good news. And in fact, in the US, Amazon hired over 1.75 lakh people. And in fact, just recently, Amazon also said that they're going to make 70% of these roles permanent. So do you have such plans in India as well?
I think we constantly look at the demand, and I think at this point of time, the demand as it is pretty seasonal. We have to look at where the demand settles down. There is a lot of pent-up demand due to the COVID crisis, and we know that this demand, some of the categories, for example, consumables or grocery items, will continue to be in demand for a much longer period of time. The demand patterns are also likely to shift. It's too early days to talk about that, but I think there will be some shifts in the demand patterns, and therefore it will be a question of what's the demand and do we have enough capacity to fulfill the demand. As long as we have the capacity, we will continue to leverage the resources and continue to build the infrastructure that is required. We'll need the capacity for that. Yes.
So on capacity, Akhil, have you been able to come back to a normal capacity now compared to pre-COVID levels? I mean, of course, in the first two phases of the lockdown, it was, big mess for e-commerce players. Then, once the easing started, of course, you've been able to start more deliveries. What is the capacity you're operating at now?
I think just to be transparent, we are almost operating at the same kind of capacity that we do during our Diwali peak. So imagine that that's the kind of volume that we are talking about right now, and we are building capacity in the right places where we need it. So some of the capacity might be required in buildings which are more having a larger selection of groceries and consumable items. So that's where you add more capacity, or there might be places in the last mile, or especially in metro cities or tier 2, tier 3 cities where demand is higher, and that's where we are adding capacity. So we are operating at much higher capacities than pre-COVID days, almost as a peak. So you know how we manage and run our peaks. You have seen some of our behind-the-scene operations on how
Absolutely.
peak is managed, and that's exactly how we're managing at this point of time. So the teams are super excited. We are very humbled by the focus and the passion that the teams have brought in at this point of time. These are hard days, and we are incredibly privileged to have the support of our frontline associates who come in, despite all the challenges, come in to support and do the right things for the country. So we are very excited by that. We are very privileged and very humbled by that.
Well, it's now time to take a quick break, but up next, as per ST estimates by KPMG and Google, India's online gaming market is estimated to touch $1 billion by 2020. How's the online gaming industry faring currently, and what are the new trends that they are witnessing? We find out on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Startup Street. Now, India's online gaming market is estimated to touch $1 billion by 2021. This as per KPMG and Google. To know more about how the online gaming industry is faring currently and the new trends that they are witnessing, my colleague Shruti Mishra spoke to co-founder and CEO of Games24, Bhavin Pandya. She started by asking him about the kind of traction that Games24 has been seeing during this period. Take a listen.
While these are not very good times for us as a nation, as a country, there have been certain impacts on certain positive impacts on some industries, gaming being one of them, like you mentioned. There have been others like OTT and social media, etc. But from a gaming standpoint, I think overall the industry has seen a lot more interest than it had before. We're seeing that people are spending a lot more time on a daily basis, maybe 15-20% more time playing games and doing other things online on gaming and other platforms. And it has, the engagements have gone up. We've seen some games, at least we can only speak from our perspective, some of the areas in which we didn't have as much presence, we're seeing a lot more interest and a lot more traction. So yes, we are seeing that.
So Bhavin, you're not giving me any numbers, but I want to ask you that you're one of the oldest players in the industry. Take me through some of the recent trends that you've witnessed.
So the things that we've seen mostly, and this has been in both the casual gaming and the skill gaming space. In the casual games, a lot more people have come. and I can you asked for numbers. There has been a a 2.5x increase in the number of people that are playing games now, the number of games that are being downloaded. And I think one of the trends that is really taking off is this whole skill games trend, where a lot of companies are now offering different kinds of skill games for money, and that's something that's really hot and has sort of gotten a lot of traction.
Also, I believe that South India has been a large market for you, but you're seeing users from North India as well. Is that a new trend that you're seeing?
So for us, if we speak about Rummy Circle and Rummy specifically, then yes, Rummy has predominantly been a southern game, a game that has been popular in the south of India.
Okay.
But of late, we are seeing that there's a lot of interest from the north. A lot of players, people in the north are trying to learn Rummy. In fact, we're seeing that there's about a 2.5x increase in the number of people putting in Google, how to play Rummy. So that's right. There are a lot of people from uncharted territory, if I may, have become interested in Rummy, but also in other games of skill.
Also, Bhavin, it's the esports and, the skill games for real money, two segments that make a larger part of the revenue for the industry. And fantasy sports are a prominent part of this. Last year, the fantasy sports market saw over 100% growth, but this year reports suggest that it had plummeted to zero, mainly because the cancellations and the postponements of various sporting events. So, what have you seen at Games 24/7?
So at Games 24/7, our fantasy product is My 11 Circle. We went live in early 2019. And like you rightly pointed out, the last year was fantastic in terms of growth. We had some key product innovations. We had Mr. Saurav Ganguly partner with us for Play with Champions campaign. But you're right that because this genre of gaming is highly dependent on live sports and live feeds, there has not been that much action. But I will say that the industry as a whole is very tenacious. Everyone is trying to look for other ways to keep their players engaged, like doing historical matches where you don't know what the match is, but you sort of play to sort of see if you can win that or not. Obviously, none of this is being done for money, but just to sort of casually keep our players engaged. So we are seeing innovative ways in which everyone's keeping players engaged, so that once live action is back, and that's expected to be back sometime in July and then onward, that the players come back in full swing and start playing again.
All right, we hope that too. Games 24/7 is a full stack gaming portfolio. You've got skill games, casual games, fantasy sports, and all of that. Give me a revenue breakup. What makes most of your revenues? If you can give us a percentage breakup.
So I will say that most of our revenue still comes from Rummy Circle. With fantasy, we're only scratching the surface. We're 1 year old. And those are, so you have Rummy Circle, that's a lion's share really, high double digits, and then the others are very, very minuscule in comparison.
Okay, so Rummy Circle is your top game.
Yes.
And also, while the engagement numbers look great, the traction is great, there are certain hurdles. There are infrastructure hurdles. We need to increase bandwidth. There is also the biggest impediment is the freemium model. How do you expect going forward? How do you make the Indian millennials pay up for gaming?
So that's a very good point and observation, Shruti. At least in our experience, we have seen that in India, unlike the West and other countries, people are not willing to pay for just gratification or just for the sake of playing and having a good time, right? But I will say that times are changing. I think as more and more people are becoming accustomed to different kinds of games, constantly looking for social validation, in my view, a lot more people will sort of start engaging more with these platforms, and start playing. But my personal view, at least, is that it'll be a while before people can start playing for money in India very seriously on the casual gaming front.
Okay, Bhavin, before I let you go, share with me the future plans. You've got marquee investors supporting you. Any plans for a fundraise? Any new launches planned?
So there are a few things that we've done in the past that have helped us, Shruti. And the most important thing is our constant focus on really understanding our players well. Because if we understand our players' behaviors well, then we're able to engage them better by providing them exactly what they want. So we are focused on product innovation. That's really our mantra when it comes to Rummy Circle, My 11 Circle, our casual games division. That we will focus on constantly making sure that our product becomes more and more engaging. We're currently at least not looking at anything else. As we sort of everyone sort of comes back from this pandemic, we would like people to sort of experience more engagement rather than really having to shift our focus on other things.
And any plans of raising any money? Would you be looking at another round of investments?
So the way we look at this is, Shruti, that we're always open to opportunities and discussions, right? We're always open to see where the opportunities are right for us, where it makes sense for us to go out and raise money. But at this time, at least, our focus is on our product, and we've not actively gone out to look for money.
All right. So you're not telling me, but I have to ask you this one last time. So any new products? You're saying you're looking at product innovation. Anything that you can tell us? What's the next launch going to be, or how soon is it going to be?
I can tell you that there is a large part of our team is working on our casual games division, and I say that with a lot of pride, that even though casual games for us in India, and we've done social casino like Ultimate Teen Patti, Ultimate Rummy in India, have sort of flattened out, if I may. We are launching new casual games now. We're in pursuit of doing that, and you should hear more about that in the next couple of months.
All right. So Games 24 is now looking at getting their hands on casual games. That's the words coming in from the co-founder. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Startup Street. But more news and updates coming up for you on the other side. Don't go anywhere.